There are a couple of different things about the move from Chicago to Dallas that was really interesting, and I think people ask me all the time, you know, when I tell them that we were in Dallas, they say, well, how'd you wind up there? You know, Chicago's a great town, and what it offered us was a tremendous springboard visually for the show, and I think as much as anything, Chicago became a character in the show, and specifically Joliet Prison, which is just outside of Chicago. But, you know, it was so iconic that it helped establish a look for the show that was, I think, unique and extremely pleasing for an audience, because they knew we weren't in Los Angeles, we weren't in New York, we were someplace different. Chicago's got the river, the bridges, the whole thing.
The time period of the show, I believe, is 4 to 6 weeks of actual show time, of how much time has gone by, where it takes us 9 months to shoot 22 episodes. If you shot it in Chicago or on the outskirts of Chicago, the weather changes. You know, you have the summertime, then you got fall, leaves change, then you got, you know, now you have winter, you have drastic weather changes that would never sync up and match. So their problem was to find a location that A, could be film friendly, B, could give you the different sort of looks that they need.
We knew we had to play, you know, a number of different locales across the country. You know, we had to have, you know, the desert, and we had to have the big city, and we needed to have the bayou, and we needed to have the wide open plains, and also parts of Latin America. We were playing parts of this as Mexico and as Panama.
Gary Brown, who is the producer of the show, did a series there for 9 or 10 years, a thing called Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris. And he was very familiar with that terrain, and he said, you know, I think you guys should come down here and you should look at it, because I think we can accomplish a lot more than you think in Dallas, in and around Dallas. And, you know, we sort of, you know, had our skepticism a little bit and our reservations about it, because we just didn't see it.
So I was at first like, you know, Dallas is when we got one look, you know, it's like JR and people in tall hats, and I was quite wrong.
When we saw Dallas, within the first half hour, we knew we were there. Because it's a beautiful city, it has a skyline, it has a downtown.
There's probably 11 to 14 small towns of various sizes within a half an hour to 45-minute radius of downtown Dallas, which gave us a variety of looks as well. Each of those towns are slightly different.
We would call up and ask, any chance that they can go to Niagara Falls? Sure, Niagara Falls, about an hour away from Dallas, no problem. Any chance they can go to the desert? Not a problem, hour away, small towns.
You can shoot tight on certain areas in Dallas and make it look like New York City or Chicago if need be. It just gave us a little bit more flexibility.
We reduced all of America down to a 30-mile radius around Dallas with some stock shots too. I mean, there's quite a few stock shots in the season, but Dallas really served our purposes in that sense.
Dallas tries to be film friendly. Having done episodic in the past, there is a bit of an understanding of, you know, Walker, Texas Ranger was here for 8 seasons, and they were running around blowing things up and doing car chases and stuff all the time. Occasionally there's going to be a little grumble here or there if, you know, there was a tie-up in downtown traffic, but for the most part the city's like, okay, great, you know, they're filming, it's economic development, there's money coming into the coffers, that's good, all good stuff.
Mahomes got Burrows, Schofield's on his way.
I don't know what happened to me in this whole show. You're dead by now. Oh, right. I go and watch the game.
This production has done an amazing job to make Dallas look like America. Not only America, but Latin America, because it made it look like Mexico, it made it look like Panama, and basically made it look like Middle America, made it look like New York, made it look like I mean, everywhere, Utah, for Christ's sake. It's one of those things that sometimes every time we were shooting it, I'm like, this is not going to work. There's no way this looks like Mexico. Or there's no way this looks like Utah.
We have a map in our office where we kind of follow Michael and Lincoln and all the fugitives kind of around the country. And we hit most of the United States.
I think that's one of the reasons why Prison Break is doing so well, is that, you know, when you watch Prison Break, it doesn't look like LA. So it gives a different perspective on things, and you know, we're very fortunate to have the people involved in Prison Break, especially in Dallas. I mean, their work ethic is incredible, and you know, it's reflecting in the quality of the shows that we're making.
The time element in series television is very critical, and the time to actually create these environments is very short.
Picking many different locations. That's, you know, we've been, like, in some episodes, like a location every day, every 2 days, we have a different location.
And then, of course, it's the challenge of matching this puzzle of sets together. You know, whether it's a Panamanian set that has to go together with a set from Mexico on the same day, or whether we happen to be shooting in a courtroom like we're sitting in right now in the morning, and then shooting in Panama the second half of the day. That happens all the time.
When we, for the end of the season, had to recreate Panama, we said, how are we going to make this look like Panama? This is going to be, like, impossible. We have to stay in the United States.
One of the most interesting things that we did was transforming a area in downtown Dallas that had been used for a movie about Iraq. And in fact, they had recreated Baghdad in part of this area downtown. And so we went down there and we realized, well, maybe we can do something here and transform it into Panama.
I heard a number the other day that they spent like $40,000 on plants to turn this one area of Dallas into Panama, so that they had like tropical plants that they had, you know, palm trees and, you know, I don't know, Bruga mustra, I don't know, whatever else. But when you see Panama, it's really on a street in downtown Dallas, and we were all freezing our butts off.
You paint certain buildings certain colors, you put people in Panama hats. I mean, everyone from locations to dressing to wardrobe to whatever needs to be done is done. Our crew is great. And they made it look like Panama. That was one where we were all saying, wow, this is going to be a trick to pull off, but we never doubted it would get done.
Near the end of the season, you know, we wanted our kind of boat drink shot, our Corona ad shot, where our guys get to the sailboat at the end of the season. And, you know, at first it was suggested, you know, Dallas has some very large lakes, so we could do it there. And, you know, Caribbean water has a very, you know, specific look to it, and Caribbean beaches as well, you know, very white sand and that sort of thing. So ultimately, at the end of the season, we decided to take a second unit and go down to Florida and shot around Pensacola. So that was the only thing that we couldn't get in Dallas, but virtually everything else we got in Dallas.
All right, here we go, guys. A little quick safety meeting with the trains. The train is a very big, heavy object. It does not start quickly, it does not stop quickly.
Having Dallas as a background was rejuvenating, I have to say. Something new. I kept seeing new locations all the time, which I love. I hate to be in the States, so I love shooting outside.
It really reminds me of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I'm Butch. No, I'm the Sundance Kid. Let Wentworth be Butch.
It brought something, was like an injection to the show. And I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it every day, even though people complain about 115-degree weather. I don't care. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I can handle the heat.
So I got your message. Thank God I got to you, Michael. Lincoln's free.
I think there's sort of a toss-up between, is it worse to run around in the heat with, like, snakes and bugs, or run around in the snow in a prison that hasn't been cleaned in 3 years? I think there's kind of a toss-up there.
Hey! Hey! Do I get to call a lawyer or what? What do you got, savages down here? Moving from Chicago to Dallas was a big switch, and I can just put it in one sentence for you. The last episode we shot in Chicago was minus 13 degrees. The first episode we shot here in Dallas was plus 122 degrees. It was hot, man. People were fainting on set all this summer. It was a real transition, you know. Plus, not being in the prison.
What I'm about to divulge to you will in all likelihood get me killed. Well, people complained a lot about the cold last year, and I'm from Chicago, so I knew that was a challenge. You know, it's hard for a crew to shoot out in the cold. The actors complain more than the crew, of course. That's how it always is.
I miss Chicago, but I don't miss the cold. I don't miss the cold at all. Of course, I hate the heat in Dallas, so you gotta kind of balance it out. I grew up in Ohio. I know more of the Midwest kind of feel of the country. Dallas, to me, feels very much the same. It's really good people, really hardworking people. The crew is great here. The crew is amazing in Chicago.
I think the way it helps Dallas, having a show like Prison Break here, is it's not necessarily the norm. It's not where you see the show and go, oh, there's Dallas on screen, which, you know, it was in some of the other things we've had here. This we're playing everywhere else. But the locals are very enthralled by seeing their city on television, so the locals are like going, oh, there's that, there's that.
The cool thing to me about my job is that I get to explore this country in a way that I wouldn't. I wouldn't have picked up and moved to Chicago without having a job there. I wouldn't have moved to Texas without having a job here. And the U.S. is such a big place. I mean, we're the size of Europe, and it's as interesting as it would be to live in Norway and all of a sudden decide to move to Spain. It's really different down here, but I'm grateful for that experience.